Hey Preston, good morning. This is Daryl. I'm finally getting around to looking at your motor here. I've got it on the bench and I've got it hooked up to a GE switch here. And of course you probably know these 3-conductor headwire type motors. You can't just hook up a test lead and plug them straight in. You got to go through the switch and go through the choke coil and all that. So I've got it hooked up to a test lead here. I'm going to plug it in. And you hear it just hums, it won't start. Okay, so that's usually an indication that the bearings are worn out in it. So what we'll do is we'll tear this down, we'll get the old bearings out from in there, and I'll make new ones, replace front and rear bearings, all new fiber thrust washers. We'll adjust everything for you, make sure everything, and we'll do another little short video here in just a bit. Okay, stand by. Hey Preston, this is Daryl. I've got your motor here and I just made the rear bearing and put it in there for you. That's a new rear bearing right there. I just want to point out on the back end of your rotor shaft right here. Let me stick something on there so you can see it better. This is called the worm right here. It meshes with the worm gear here, but this is called a worm. And there's an awful lot of wear in this. If you'll notice it, you can almost see like a smiley face right here. But if you'll notice how bad on, get it to focus, notice how bad on this side of all of these teeth here, it's worn down really, really bad. You should have a V like that one right there. See how perfect shaped V that is? That's like it was from the factory because there's no wear up in here, and there's usually not a wear out here, much wear out here on the end, but you've got an awful lot of wear in here, and there's no way to fix this other than to just get another rotor or replace the rotor shaft. Now some rotors you can replace just the worm on here. There's a screw that holds it in, or it goes in and a cotter key holds it in place, but the way this one is made, it's all one piece. And you can't replace that right there. You can't replace this. So you're going to get a lot of gear slap in here. You're going to get a lot of gear noise because of all this wear in here. You got a lot of what we call slop between this and the gear. So I just wanted to point this out to you. At some point you might want to start looking for another rotor, and these things are plenty common enough that you can find another rotor without much problem. So I just wanted to point this out to you, okay? Hey, something else I'll point out too, we were looking at the back end here. On the front end of your shaft, you've got a pretty bad groove right here as well. Now this is where the bearing rides. The bearing rides from right about here to right about there. You can see where it's got some wear in it. But this right here is where that wick, where that lubrication wick rides. And what happens is people will let that wick get dirty, or they'll let it go dry, and it'll get sort of crusty, abrasive stuff on the end of it, and it wears this shaft down right here. So being that you got so much wear back here, and you got this wear up here in the front too, might be a good idea to start looking for another rotor to replace in this thing. But we'll get the new bearings in there and see how to run. It wouldn't even start when you sent it to me. So let's get the new bearings in there and see how it's going to run. And this one may last you for a little while, but these are just things I wanted to point out to you. Anytime I see something like this, I try to point it out just to let you know about it, okay? Okay, so we got new front bearing, new rear bearing in there. I put all new thrust washers in there. I got everything adjusted and fitted just right. And of course you got an awful lot of wear on that rotor shaft in there. So I think it's running about as good as it's going to run. Got you hooked up, and I drew you a wiring diagram I'm going to send back with your motor. So got a test lead here. We're going to plug it in, and we'll watch it start up. Here we go. And always start these motors on high speed. Don't never try to start them on low and let the motor, there's just too much drag. too much drag on the motor. Always start them off in high, and then once the motor gets up to speed, then you can switch it to low speed. So there's, all right, running on all 3 speeds right there, and we'll shut it off. All right, so there you go. I'm going to make you some new screws here. These screws are pretty bad. These are the original screws. They're pretty bad shape, but I'm going to make you 4 more to go in there for the ones that you didn't have. All right, take care.